On this last day of the Christmas season, it's very fitting that we celebrate the baptism of Jesus. Sometimes we get caught up in the beauty of the Christmas scene, the infant child and the mother, and we forget that the purpose of this child being born extended far into his future. He came to live a fully human life and die a fully human death, and in his case, a rather cruel human death. So the baptism of Jesus, very long after his birth, maybe 3 decades later, was the time that he began to publicly tell the world why he had come. Up until this time, he lived a quiet life like most of us. But now he was going out into the world to proclaim the Father's love for all the people. And as a result, of course, he was killed. So the real baptism of Jesus wasn't in the Jordan. The real baptism of Jesus was on the cross. He was baptized by his blood. Our baptism, on the contrary, is a baptism into the very life of Jesus. As he came to live a fully human life, as the Creator became one of his own creatures and began to live a fully human life, so we, through our baptism, begin to live a fully God life. Christ lived in us so that we could live in him, and thus have that union with his Father, which he enjoyed as the Son of God. And just as Jesus worked his way through normal human life with its ups and downs, so he asks us to live our human life in the same way, in the same manner that he did, always trusting in the love of his Father for us, always confident that his Father will always finally lift us up, and that even though we will suffer death, that we will also be raised up by the same Father that we have with Jesus. So this feast of the baptism of Jesus sort of brings the whole idea of God's becoming one of us and the purpose of that coming, which will take fruit one day when we are all like Jesus, raised up after our death. This feast of baptism also reminds us that this was Jesus publicly making himself known to the world and reminding us disciples that because he is living in us now, it is our vocation to make him publicly known to our world, not by preaching, but by living a life similar to his, confident in the Father's love, raising us up from the grave as he did Jesus. So this is the ending of a season of recollection, and it's the beginning of a season of reminding ourselves who we are and what we are called to do. To do basically the same thing as Jesus did, bring God's love to the world and thus bring the salvation of all to the world.